There's a goalie I've been thinking of lately. And it's because of what's been going on. Because a lot of people point at something, and I'm going to get this out of the way by looking at this example. Steve Penny was a goaltender that came out of nowhere from Montreal. He was an 8th round draft pick in the 1980 entry draft. So he really came out of nowhere. 83, 84, he played 4 regular season games, didn't win any of them. 84, 85, he played 54 of them. He won 26 of them. Only had an 876 save percentage and a 3.08 goals against, but it was the mid-80s. Save percentages were not what they are now. And he had 1 shutout. 85, 86, he played 18 games, 6, 8, and 2. 85, 86, there was this new kid that came along. In the 1984 playoffs, he played 15 games for the Montreal Canadiens. He had 9 wins, 6 losses. He had a 2.20 goals against and 3 shutouts. He took Montreal to the conference finals as an unknown goaltender. In the 85 playoffs, he took them to the second round. His stats dropped. And then he didn't play again after that because of a guy who came along named Patrick Roy. But Steve Penny was considered a money goaltender early on. The 83-84 season, as I said, he plays 4 games, he loses all 4. In the playoffs, he's 9-6. 2.20 goals against, 3 shutouts, 910 save percentage, which by 80 standards, 910 is about the equivalent of a 940 right now. I'm not exaggerating. He played lights out, and I remember Steve Penny being sort of a phenomenon, and the Montreal Canadiens having, I believe it was Richard Sevigny and Denny Herron at the time. Sevigny may have moved on, but at any rate, they moved on with the idea that we're going to get younger and this kid's going to be great. And then it just didn't work for him. He had the one season as a starter, and then he was replaced by Patrick Roy. Now, we have a situation with Matt Murray and Tristan Jarry. And right now, all of our thoughts are with Matt Murray on the passing of his father. Due to Murray's age, I'm going to go ahead and guess that his dad's about my age. So that is, not something you would expect. Not that it is ever easy to lose a father. I know when my father passed away, I think it was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I spent days in the apartment just crying and thinking and not functioning. And I didn't have a good relationship. My dad and I, the last 10 years he was alive, we didn't speak. So I cannot imagine Matt Murray, if he's had this close relationship with his dad, I can't imagine how that feels for him right now. But we're going to take that right now, and I know that's a big story, and I know that's important, and it's not something I can do a video on. Because, as I said, I've gone through that, and I know that feeling, and I don't know how to do a video on that. Keep it tasteful, and have some sort of an end point where there's a meaning of it. Matt Murray right now has a goaltender playing behind him who's actually playing better than him. Matt Murray has 2 Stanley Cups. Matt Murray's been great in repeated Stanley Cup playoffs. Matt Murray has a 15-12-1 record. Jarry's is 9-3-2. Murray has a 2.93 goals against average. Jarry 2.33. Murray 903 save percentage. Jarry 923. 1 shutout Murray, 2 shutouts for Jarry. This is before tonight's game. As I am recording this, in tonight's game, I'm going to take a look now. Jarry's playing, dismiss the backup, and Jarry's going to play until Murray gets back. DeSmith might get a game depending on how long Jarry's out or Murray's out. I don't think Murray will be out very long. Right now, Anaheim scored 2 in the second, so Jarry's made 19 saves on 21 shots. That's still a 900 save percentage. So if Anaheim can win this game, if they can chase Jarry out of it, if they can put up some goals, the one thing is, the one part of this argument that you kind of have to put an asterisk next to is Jarry's played fewer minutes, which isn't just, well, he's the backup. It's that If, let's say, Anaheim scores 6 or 7 tonight, this number comes down, this number goes up, they look a lot closer, he takes the loss, obviously no shutout, and we don't talk about this so much. I will say this, I do think, from having watched them both play this year, that positionally I think Jarry's the better goaltender. I see Murray just out of position more than Jarry between the two when I watch games for the Penguins. And it's just a feeling I get with a goaltender that they're just a little bit off. And that's all it takes at the NHL level. Like, I watched Rask tonight, who has been on for months, and I'm reminded of why I would watch Bruins games and just yell Tuukka every time he made a save. Because when he's on, it's just spectacular. Jarry's been really, really excellent. And Pittsburgh's in an unusual spot for themselves in that now they have to win to make the playoffs. I think it affected Murray not having Marc-Andre Fleury back there, but I also think that having a backup that's capable of pushing him, no offense to Antti Niemi, but having a backup that's capable of pushing him should make him a better goalie in the long run. This 903, and people will point to the defense. The part I've always found funny about it is this, is when people say, well, the defense is bad in Pittsburgh, then a goalie comes in and plays better, and those same people say, oh, yeah, no, they should play him. Well, what happened to the bad defense? What happened to the goalie that had the excuse for the low number because the defense in front of him is crap? As soon as another goalie comes in and puts up better numbers, people say, oh, I guess maybe it's the goalie. It's like when you look at Dallas right now. Kari Lettinen's putting up totals that he may actually get better numbers this year than he got last year in Dallas. And yet I don't hear anybody saying, see, it was the defense. I just hear people, well, Bishop's the better goalie. Yes. Exactly. Exactly that. I don't know that Jarry's the better goalie, and here's the one risk. And it's the risk for Matt Murray as well. Okay? You've got two young kid goalies. First off, psychologically, you're going to have more fragile goalies than veterans. For the most part. Not always. For the most part, your rookies and your sophomore goalies are going to have a harder time shaking off that bad goal. But the other thing is, it's the same as a pitcher in baseball. Teams get a book on you. They may have a book on Murray, which may explain this number. If you overplay Jarry, teams will get a book on him, and this number could drop like a rock. The example that I always mention is with that. Every time Felix Potvin moved, he had good numbers on a new team. And to me, I always found it kind of funny. I thought, do teams forget that it's Felix Potvin? Because he wears the same mask, he just colors it differently. But it's like when he'd go to a new team, he'd have really good stats for a little while, and then it's like teams would remember, oh, Potvin, right, shoot glove side. Gotcha, shoot to the glove hand. He's weak on the glove side. And then his numbers would drop. I think the difference between Jarry and Murray in the way they play hockey is going to cause teams to struggle to score against Jarry. He doesn't give them the look they expected with Matt Murray. So they may be prepping for this guy, then the game starts and they're like, oh, they started him instead? Oh, well, we prepped for him, but we were really kind of banking on this guy. It's really early to say. You know, Jarry's got 13 or 14 decisions under his belt coming into tonight. It'll be 15 after tonight. It is really early to say, yep, ride that guy to the end. Right, he's the guy. Because even though I'm looking and going, you know what, he looks sound, he looks more sound, that may be because players haven't figured him out. There might very well be, when he stands in that net, a hole the players haven't figured out. A shot that they can make where he'll open up and suddenly puck's in underneath his arm. Maybe he's weak on the 5-hole and they haven't figured out how to exploit that yet. Maybe he just hides his faults better than other goalies. That's really, I think, the measure of a great goalie. One that really hides his faults well, or makes sure that his fault is something that's so difficult to score against anyways that teams struggle to score. I think, honestly, once this season is done, I think Pittsburgh's got a problem. Well, maybe. I'm gonna hedge on this a little bit. The end result coming out of this year is either going to be a GM going, hey, one of these guys has big value, and I could get something for him in a trade. Or 1A, 1B. They're both the starter. Why not? It could work. It's worked before. I look back to the late 80s, the early 90s. The Boston Bruins had Andy Moog, Reggie Lemelin. That was a 1A, 1B situation. Moog would play 48, maybe 50 games in a season. Lemelin will play 30, sometimes 35 games in a season. Might push 40. Really depends who's playing well. The end result here may be these guys share the starts. And where it'll get really interesting is the playoffs. You can have guys share starts during the season. I remember Schneider and Luongo, everything was great. It was in the playoffs that things got a little personal. When Luongo got pushed aside in favor of Schneider, the whole world took a deep breath and went, oh boy, it finally happened. And then Luongo had to go right after they traded Schneider. And they went, ta-da! Anyways, Pittsburgh's not going to do that. Pittsburgh's not going to do that because it's a bad trick to play on your fan base. Remember when we had two good goalies? Ta-da! Jarry's good. Jarry's good enough. Jarry is good enough that he's going to push for that starter's job. He's pushing for it now. Even the Cats can't agree. I think Bear's a fan of Matt Murray, and I think Pixel's arguing it's Jarry. The funny thing is, as I'm talking about this, Pittsburgh's allowed 3 goals. Maybe Anaheim's seen something in Jarry. I wouldn't know I'm doing this video right now, but maybe Anaheim's seen something in Jarry. He's made 21 saves now in 24 shots. That's an .875 save percentage. Don't ask me how I do that in my head. Okay, alright. I played so many baseball games when I was a kid on Super Nintendo and Nintendo. I got really good at figuring out percentages. It's so lame. But that's the thing. If you're a Penguins fan and you're excited about Jarry, awesome. And he's going to have games where he doesn't necessarily play like Tristan Jarry. But I really don't think Murray is anywhere near backup status. And regardless of the amount of time he needs to heal and to properly mourn the loss of his father. And that can be more than just going for a few days, going to a funeral. It can be a lot more than that. I really don't think Jarry's taking his job. I think we're looking at a 1A, 1B, and then playoff time. We will revisit this. Should Pittsburgh be in the playoffs? Should they be in a position to maybe win 3 Stanley Cups in a row? And then we can discuss who Pittsburgh rightfully should use as the starter in the playoffs. When usually, you only have 1 goalie. But this is Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh does things different. And what if they decided to go with both goalies in the playoffs? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. How much is Jarry pushing Matt Murray? In my eyes, it's going to take a while before we really have that conversation. But it's worth doing a video about now to start the conversation in case it gets a lot more momentum in the coming weeks and months. Thank you for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And hey, I'll talk to you again soon.